This year's International Women's Day celebration is a reminder of resilience, strength, and achievements of women from all walks of life. The 2024 edition of the annual event is tagged Invest in Women, Accelerate Progress, which serves as a call to action for individuals, organizations, and government to take concrete actions that advance gender equality by investing in women. Let's get talking now. Yes, I'm being joined by the Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. That's Dr. Chinyere Almona. Dr. Almona, good afternoon. And again, happy International Women's Day.
Good afternoon to you. Happy International Women's Day to you and to all the women in your life. And thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. That's a good one. So I need to get home and be able to go in. If I don't talk to a woman today, then there will be a problem. But there's a lot of celebration and talks around women today, talking about achievements and contribution to national development. Do you think women are where they should? And what should be done to help them to get to that point that they will really want to get to?
In the last couple of years, and a lot has been done and said. I think more has been said than done, but a lot has been said and done about women progressing both in the political terrain and in the corporate terrain and in the home terrain, everywhere. And it's clear, even globally, that if you are able to invest in women, not just give them money, but invest time and resources in them and be committed to the process, then there's going to be increased acceleration. There'll be an acceleration of progress, and that will happen very quickly. So perhaps the lack of progress that we're experiencing across the globe today is because women have not been adequately empowered. Like I said, a lot is being said, but not a lot is being done. And so we see progress, but the progress has been very slow. In fact, the global gender gap index by the World Economic Forum shows that it will take us like 130-something years to close the gender gap. The gender gap is very, very wide, and we need to do so much. If I think about it, I was reading an article recently that said that Nigeria is one of the top 10 countries with the highest level of discrimination against women. So we need to do a lot. We need to stop talking, or maybe talk, but do more than we're talking.
Yes, we need to do more than talking. Now, just like you mentioned, the theme is focusing on accelerating for progress, of course, for women. But my question really will be, let's look at women in business. We've seen women do so very well in boardrooms. Many will say, yes, we want a woman on top there. So what makes you women stand out? Or what do you think is that attribute that you have that makes you stand out and want to always excel where you find yourself?
There are so many attributes of women. Women are natural leaders. So there are so many things about us that make us stand out and should be in leadership positions. It's just that for some reason, men are not seeing it. There have been several studies that have shown that with women in leadership, that there's higher profitability and that businesses are able to take care of the community and the less vulnerable, which is what we require. So there are there have been several studies, and there are several reasons, and I really can't just say all of them now. But just to say that while this is a desirable position, like I said earlier, it's been very slow. So a firm, PWR Advisory, did a study on women on board. They took the 30 largest companies on NGX, and they looked at the women representation. It is appalling. It's still less than 30 in terms of representation. When you look at the total board seats and the representation of women, it's still less than 30. Out of the 30 companies that were selected, only about 3 are being that you have women as chairpersons. So it's a lot of talk, but the action is still low. I believe that women, we need to up our game in a lot of ways. But I think the men need to also understand that we actually add a lot more value to them than just being at home.
But you will agree with me that this challenges still persist across the board. How have you women been able to manage these challenges as you face them?
Okay, so if you kind of think broadly, there have been a lot of women associations now being active, being very vocal, because we also realize that we need to speak out. We need to say when it's not working. If there was one institution I remember, I think 2 years ago, and they were really, I think it was a civil society organization, and they will look around. If you have a big event and you put out a flyer, and they look at the panelists, for instance, and you don't have solid representation of women, they'll call you out. So we are also becoming very vocal in terms of calling people out. But we also realize that amongst ourselves, we need to mentor each other, we need to sponsor each other, we need to help each other move up the ladder. And that we are doing. So a lot of programs are targeted at women. A lot of training and leadership programs are targeted at women. And kudos to a lot of the development institutions that are also putting funds in women businesses to help them scale. And because we have also found it's easier for men to get funding for their business than women. So if a man goes to pitch for funds for a business, people are going to think, oh, okay, what's the potential of this business? But they're willing to give him more than he wants. But when a woman goes to pitch, they're thinking, what is the risk of this business succeeding? So we have realized that is also a problem. So you have certain firms that are focused on providing funding for women to be able to scale their business. And this is happening. And I believe that in the next couple of years, we will see traction.
That's interesting. But I want to say that we hear a lot about women funding, women program, she program, farming program focused on women. So I beg to disagree that where men get more funding other than women. I think there are more women. Anyway.
No. There's statistics to show it.
Okay.
There's solid statistics. The studies have been done, and it is clear across Africa, not just Nigeria.
Wow.
That men get more funding than women. So it's clear.
How do we bridge this gap now? How do we tend to bridge that gap? Women also need to be supportive of each other to be able to attain these heights.
I do agree with you. And that's what I said. There are loads of programs now to help women actualize the goal of leading. Because there is a lot of benefit with women leading in different positions and different situations. So we need to continue to push the narrative. Also, I'd like to say to women, please tell your stories. A lot of women are doing great stuff, but it's not being shared. So I encourage women to also be able to tell their stories and share their successes and their accomplishments, and we can help each other, of course.
Almost finally, with regards to International Women's Day, let's talk about participation in governance now. How will you assess it at the moment with the present government? And if we can do, what percentage do you think is ideal for women participation?
Okay, when you say governance, I believe you mean public governance, right?
Yes, public governance.
National governance.
Yes, public.
I believe so. So I realize it's kind of clear that in the last election, women did poorly. In fact, they did poorly compared to the previous elections. And that was a bit startling. We thought that with the youth coming out, with women being more vocal, more active, that you have more women vying for positions. But then we also realized that some of these, when we get to the point of vying for positions, we're actually almost at the tail end of the value chain. At the point of the party leadership at the grassroots, that's where we need to start doing the work, not expect them to emerge without all the work being done at the beginning. So we need to understand and get back to the base and do that. But generally, it's been like even with corporate leadership, it's been slow, and the percentages have not been encouraging. But we continue to speak. I think in 2019 there was an outcry when women went to the streets to say, we are at least 30%. We don't have that. It's a pittance what we have today, even in National Assembly and the Senate. It's so tiny that it's almost embarrassing to mention it. But we need to continue to push the narrative. We need to continue to speak. We need to continue to act and ensure that we are active in governance.
I think I also know that a lot of women are active when it has to do with private sector participation now. Talking about what I said earlier, boards, being members of boards, being CEOs of companies, and all of that. So looking at that, where do you think that we will see women talking about taking the right position moving forward? I beg your pardon now. How do you expect government? Please, we need to take a break and we'll continue this conversation. I beg your pardon. DG, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. All right, glad to have you back. Now, I have Dr. Chinyere Almona, who's the Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We've been talking around women, especially today is International Women's Day. Yes, sorry about the mix-up there, but no, what should we expect moving forward from the women fold, at least for national development, economic development, and supporting in the business world moving forward in 2024?
So earlier, before we went on break, you did mention that women seem to be active in the corporate world.
Yes.
When you say talk about women being active and you thinking that women are active on boards, I am almost tempted to be happy that perhaps you're hearing the right things. But when I look at the statistics, it doesn't say so. Because looking at the studies that have been done, the board representation is still below 30%. So it doesn't seem so. However, I know that Nigeria, we actually have a constitution on gender equality and non-discrimination. But the fact that we have that hasn't stopped us from being among the 10 top countries with the highest level of discrimination against women and disparity in every other thing. When I looked at the World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Indicator, it shows that Nigeria is 139 out of 156 countries with the widest gap. So there is a lot to be done. And when I think of how do we move forward from here, women have prepared themselves. We are ready. A lot of times when I speak to men, they say, oh, we can't find the women to put on boards. That's not true. There are several women associations. The Chamber of Commerce will have a women group, and there are women who are skilled, who are ready to be in the place of leadership. So there are women who are trained and ready. I don't like to talk about quota because I feel that women should roll up their sleeves and work and earn that leadership position. But perhaps a quota can push the narrative, can push us towards where we want to be. If there is a government position that says 30% or 20% or whatever it is, and stick to it and actually implement it, perhaps people will go out and look for women to put in those positions. Because if women are in the right positions, they contribute enormously to national development. They contribute enormously to everything. It's been shown that if women were in the right places, if we can earn the same thing as men, we're able to encourage our children to go to school. We're able to encourage in terms of healthcare, community development. Women do all of those things. So it is time to have women where we should be, in the place of leadership, and we'll see things getting better in this country.
Interestingly, on a lighter note, one of my colleagues is mentioning that women should take responsibility now, pay the school fees. We will do the supporting as men. That's just on a lighter note, though. What would you say to that?
We do as well. We do that as well. Even with the little pay that we have, we actually contribute significantly. Anybody should challenge.
Of course, the support. Of course, the support will always come from both
men
sides.
Folks every time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I must thank you, DG. Today we're not going to talk about any other thing. We'll leave that for another time. Today is for women. Let's celebrate women and let's leave it at that. I must thank you so much. Interesting conversation. Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Chinyere Almona. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.